So back to the me and the I, right? We were talking about the example of my 4-year-old son saying to the guy in the post office, that guy's really fat, right? Well, the reason why my son might do that is because he hasn't had his me developed enough yet, right? We all have things that we wish we could say to people, but we don't. We restrain ourselves because we're socially aware of what the symbolic consequences will be of communicating with people in certain kind of ways. Now, sometimes the me and the I are at odds, right? And sometimes we let our I win. Sometimes you just end up saying, screw it, right? I'm going to do what I want to do. Forget it, right? And other times, we're really more aware of the me. Some of it depends on who you're with as well, right? Some places we might privilege our social symbols that are placed on us more than we would with other people. And sometimes the me and the I are at odds, right? And it's this constant negotiation of who's going to win in that particular situation, your instinctual side or the side of you that's more consciously symbolic. So an important tenet of this theory is this idea of creating reality, right? Kind of along the sociocultural tradition where symbolic interactionism understands interaction as a social drama that's also a constant negotiation. In any interaction with people, meaning is negotiated, and it's in constant negotiation. Symbols are never fixed. Once you're something, you can always become something else, right? We change at any time. That's not to say that it doesn't take a lot of work to do that, because often once labels are assigned, they are difficult to get rid of, but we still negotiate with people. It's a constant negotiation. And sometimes that negotiation is maintaining your symbolic the symbolic label that's been placed on you, right? So, for example, if we're in class and you've achieved the label of good student, you're in a constant negotiation with your teacher to maintain that symbolic standing. So research, according to symbolic interactionism, should be what they call meaningful. It should not be about explanation, but about helping people understand how we could symbolically interact in more effective, efficient, and ethical kind of ways. Now, the generalized other, right, is an important tenet of this theory as well. That we tend to see people as a certain kind of way. So every person that we talk about has a certain label, right? Everyone is someone to you. But how do we see people in general? Who do we think people are? Do we think people are generally good, right? So we all know people who just think everyone else is stupid, right? Or we know people who are too naive, too trusting of people. We generally assign meaning to humanity as a whole. Are we a rotten group of people? Are we a good group of people trying to do our best, etc.? Do you think people are generally good, generally bad? So we take this composite kind of sketch that we have of how it is that people look to us and who they are to us, and we place that onto humanity based on our experiences. We've talked a little bit about naming here as well, right? We'll actually skip that, so I've already talked about that. The self-fulfilling prophecy, right? This is also an important feature of symbolic interactionism because what symbolic interactionism argues is that we have a tendency to act out the roles that we've been given. We have a tendency to act in certain ways because of the symbolic labels put on us. So, for example, right, if you're given a label of how you might act symbolically, you may try to achieve that label, for example. A common thing that we talk about as teachers sometimes is how to deal with students, right? So sometimes if you have a troubled student, the best thing that you can actually end up doing is encouraging them by attaching positive symbols to them. Tell them you think they're smart. Tell them you think they're bright and they can do it, etc. And what people tend to do then is they might try to live up to those labels. They might try to act in ways that come out of how they understand themselves symbolically or how they think other people are understanding them symbolically. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So do we ever see, I don't know, in the group of friends, for example, someone may get the label the funny friend. Well, then they might always be trying to do funny things to try to maintain that label. Or you might feel a certain amount of pressure to do that, for example. Now, okay, this interpretive or objectivist, obviously it's interpretive. And so we're going to run through these criteria whenever we talk about a theory. For an interpretive theory, remember our 5 criteria are, first of all, a new understanding of people. Does it give us a new understanding of people? I think it certainly does. It helps us see the world in a different kind of way. Understanding people as symbolic values is pretty useful. Clarification of values. It tells us right up front that what it wants to do is provide meaningful research, help us interact with each other in better kind of ways. Aesthetic appeal. Generally, I think it's pretty creative and clever way to understand the world. Does it have a discussion and community of agreement? Absolutely. This is a theory that is very popular, gets lots of people talking, and so it certainly kind of has that heuristic element of getting people going. And does it help reform society? Does it make us a better place? It wants to, and it says it does, right? That we're supposed, by understanding symbols, we're supposed to be able to communicate with each other in more effective and efficient ways. So that's the goal of this theory. You know, and whenever we do these criteria here, you don't need to agree with me at the end of them. You may think that it doesn't do some of these things, and that's okay. Feel free to contribute to that on the discussion board or within your journals, and I'm always interested in what you think. So, all right, good deal. Hope you enjoy, and I will see you all next time.